So we watched Mother from by Bong Joon, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mhm.
pretty interesting. It's just
Mm.
I think
Mhm.
his remember when I keep saying duality? I think he wanted
Yeah,
to see the duality of mother's love.
yeah. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the
Or
theme here. Like
yeah.
mothers, they're also people. They
Mhm.
just mother's love
Mhm.
can be really no. It felt like
Uh-huh.
he's trying to break our um like learned fact that mother's love is such a holy thing and all that. But in this
Right.
movie it
Mhm.
just breaks it. They're like
Mm.
Bong
Oh,
is
what do
Yeah.
you
just
mean?
like
Like you think like he's saying
it's not always pretty. Mother's love
Right.
is not always pretty.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what he was trying to do
Mhm.
in this movie,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, just like
pretty.
I think he means like just the extent of like how much a parent, or in this case a mother, would go to just to kind of save
Yeah, and
her son. Yeah, like she commits a murder in this movie
Right.
just to kind of cover up his tracks. Um,
Basically, yeah.
yeah, I think that's yeah. I think it kind of shows that like it seems like this altruistic love, right? Like she thinks about her son more than herself,
Yeah.
and then
yeah,
like all the things that kind of unravel from there of of just trying to get him to seem not guilty,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like
yeah,
murdering and covering up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just showing the ugly side of the love in this case.
Hmm.
Love is
yeah,
Yeah.
and
great,
it's
but sometimes it's ugly. Even mothers. That's what this movie is trying to
yeah, dude.
tell
One of
us.
like
Uh-huh.
it was like fucking terrifying when she first off
Hmm.
the I don't know the name of the actress, but the lead actress that plays the mother is like
Heja?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Heja, Kim
is
Heja.
like incredible, right? I mean,
Oh
Yeah.
like
yeah,
it's like
She's
yeah,
incredible.
so
the whole
good.
movie
Yeah,
is really it's entirely like
yeah.
predicated on her performance, and it's like so
Yes.
good. But like
Yes.
it was so
Hmm.
terrifying when she like screams and like shrieks when
Hmm.
Oh
he
yeah.
when he uh remembers and talks about like uh what happened when he was like a toddler and how she tried to like kill them
Yeah.
both.
That
Yeah,
shit
That was
yeah.
like
was
such a terrifying
terrifying.
moment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like for sure. And like it's like
Uh-huh.
scary because like she's like so terrified about the fact that he remembers that she did that, but also it's like it
Hmm.
is clear that she was doing that because she's like
Hmm.
I had to have you um go first
Yeah.
because so
How
I
would I
guess I
kill
should like
myself?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
it
I
was in
like
that context, yeah.
yeah, but basically like in at that point in the movie, I guess we should also summarize the film, but
Yeah, I
um
mean, just finish your thought and we can kind of summarize it afterwards.
yeah, no, I mean that was sort of the extent of it, just in terms of like um how deranged she ends up
Yeah.
her love ends up being.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um
Hmm.
and it's really scary, but um I forgot I lost my train of thought. But yeah, you want to summarize the movie?
What about
Uh-huh.
Pyatt talks about his
Hmm.
most you know most
Yeah. Sure.
remembered. Yeah, before we
Um.
summarize it.
Yeah. So before we summarize, I wasn't really focused so much on like the kind of idealistic or maybe kind of like the accepted kind
Mm,
of vision of what we kind of see mothers as kind of being this kind of like unconditional, like a mother's love is kind of like untouchable and
yeah.
like and that
Hmm.
kind of form of love that we can't really receive it from anything else. Like I actually didn't even really think about it
Hmm.
when I was watching the movie, and this was my first time, just to kind of put that on the record.
Mm,
So I was seeing it with like really fresh eyes, and I'd never seen any movie by
Bong.
Sorry, I'm not really. Yeah, I've never really seen a movie by him. I haven't even seen Parasite yet. So
Whoa.
this is all very. This
Yeah.
was all pretty new to me. I've seen K dramas before. I've seen, I guess this would be like a horror thriller K drama. I've seen those types of shows and like films and that kind of culture. So I have been exposed to it, but this was different. So yeah, I wasn't really aware of that kind of idea when I was watching it. But I will say this: there was something that kind of caught my attention, and that was the kind of dynamic between the son and the mother throughout the film, because you can kind of see towards the end that the son is kind of standing up for himself, and I think that kind of stems from the fact that he kind of brought up that kind of old memory that Brandon was talking about. So because of that, she kind of was terrified by the truth of her past and her actions as a mother. And then, when he moves back in, you can kind of see him like saying like, "Oh, I'll eat this," and like, "Mom, you should eat that," and like the dynamic completely flipped.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I didn't think about that.
so
That's
yeah,
a
so
pretty
you
good
can kind
point.
of see, so yeah, you can kind of see that the son is like kind of, he's not being like over nurtured or something, like kind of like how he was in the beginning. Like the mother was like kind of like watching him like through her shop, like while he's like playing with the dog in the street. Like it's a dangerous situation, but she like, it paints a picture of like the viewpoint that she's like kind of overprotective from like the very beginning. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that was kind of like my kind of observation, even when I'm not like really completely paying attention to like the whole like mother ideal. That was still
Okay.
like, that was still my
Yeah.
impression.
I think that catch was really good. Like when you said that scene where he kind of remembers that
Yeah.
she's about to come. Yeah, like I could kind of see both of them kind of snap. Obviously, the mother more extreme, but yeah, they're kind of dynamic changes from then a bit, and
Yeah.
that's super interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's super cool you mentioned that. Yeah,
Anyway, let's summarize the movie real quick, and then we can talk further through it. Yeah.
sure.
Why don't you do it, Yoon? Since you watched it 3 times.
Okay, sure. So, I'm really bad with the names, but basically, the son.
Yeah.
I'll just do a really quick summary. Gets accused of murdering this high school girl, and the mother is basically trying to prove that he's not guilty. But when she's doing like research to help the case, she finds out that his son actually did it. Um, and then it kind of changes from there. She's just trying to, even though she knows that fact, and I think she also meets the potential suspect later, right?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to pin it on like this other kid. Um,
Right.
yeah, and
JB.
so yeah, JB exactly. And I think that's where she's just like even though she knows, it kind of shows her like the extent of how much she would go to save her child, and she kind of even though she knows that he didn't do it, the JB, she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So eventually, her son is out free while JB's in jail for a murder he didn't commit,
Yep.
and that's kind of the ending. It's like this, kind of like it's the movie's framed in a way that it makes you think that the son isn't guilty, and you're like kind of riding along with the mother
Yeah.
to like
Like prove his
uncover who, yeah,
innocence.
prove. So I think that was like a kind of interesting twist to the
Yeah, it
film.
was. It was. It
Yeah.
definitely was. He does this so well in the movie. Like the son, he's like he's not mentally mature. He's like 80-year-old kid basically in an adult's body. And I think that was really good in this movie because we don't know what he's thinking, you know? He's such a great character. He's like a kid. So we don't exactly know what he's trying to do or what he's what's in his mind basically when he says stuff.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
So I have a question. Do you guys think that that at any point um he actually believes that he did it?
I think there were some scenes where it's
Mhm.
kind of like he remembered it for a second, kind of thing. You know, at the
Mhm.
end, almost at the end, they eat, right? Mother and the son
Yeah,
eats,
yeah,
and
that's it. Uh-huh.
he's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, you know, maybe the killer put the body where everybody can see because he
Right.
wants the
Uh-huh.
girl to get rescued.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm, mhm.
but
That's when I was like, oh my god, did he actually remember?
Right.
Like, you
I
know?
Right.
uh-huh, uh-huh,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
but I thought that like at the end when he gives the mom the acupuncture
Yeah.
Right.
tin back, like
Mhm.
that when he's like you have to be more careful, like
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
like, is there a part of him that's saying that he's like I know that you were there and like I know
Uh-huh,
what
uh-huh.
happened and you have to be more cautious,
Dude, that's the
Right.
or
part,
I
dude. That's the
am I giving him
part.
too much
uh-huh.
credit?
That's the
I
part, dude. That's where we are confused.
I
That's where we're confused. If
uh-huh.
did this guy like fucking know or
Is he
not?
like a
Like
Yeah,
there
because
are a
CGI
lot of
genius?
scenes
that
like that.
implies him
I
knowing a
uh-huh.
lot. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
implies him
I
knowing like, dude, my mom fucking like
uh-huh.
basically killed this dude.
Right.
Or like
Um,
she went to see him in the first place. Like no
Yeah.
one knew they're together.
No one,
So
dude.
I have no idea how he'd know in jail or wherever he
yeah,
was. I like from what's constructed of like the characters and how they showed it. Obviously, we don't really know, but I think
Right.
that scene where they're eating, I think he's just like he forgot he killed her, and then he's
Mhm.
like, if I was a criminal, like, cause he
yeah,
heard that it's yeah, and he's trying to reenact it at one point, so he knows that her body was on top of the ceiling and or the rooftop.
Yeah, rooftop.
So
Yeah.
he's just like, if I was a killer, like I would be doing this, which is
Mm,
what exactly he did,
yeah.
probably
yeah,
thinking. But at that point, I don't think he like knew he killed her. Like I
Yeah.
think it just comes and goes like memory wise, but it's like very
yeah,
short, yeah, spans.
Mm,
And I think the last scene where, or like when he gives the tin thing, um, I don't know. I would feel like you're giving him too much credit, maybe.
mm,
yeah,
Mhm.
Just like from what I've seen in the film, like his character, he just
Right.
yeah
yeah.
might not be that intelligent or
Right.
yeah.
yeah.
This is my
But
guess.
I like that
Uh huh.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
there's a
Uh
lot of
huh.
space there for
Yeah,
Yeah.
doubts.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
he remembers something when he's 5 years old. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
weird.
Right.
Yeah. So you're totally right. It could be like yeah. I think that kind of questioning is actually pretty good. How
Yeah.
they paced the movie and
Yeah, how
yeah.
they built that character is so good that it makes all
Uh
of us confused.
huh.
Right.
Yeah, we're just like, what? So he did it?
Uh-huh.
Definitely? Like, there are so many
Mhm.
moments like that, dude.
well, yeah.
So
What's
many
also
Yeah.
moments.
interesting is like
Mhm.
that Bong specifically chooses to play out the scene with The Rock in
Yeah.
an
Mhm.
Yeah.
ultimately um like with a imagined like ending. Like that didn't actually happen in the scene like that he shows us.
Mhm.
The rock gets thrown at him and then he just runs off.
Right.
And I think that like that's interesting for him to not only because I think typically in a sort of like murder mystery situation,
Mhm.
you'd have the rock get thrown out and then the rest is sort of left open ended and we don't see what happens. But
Mm.
Mhm.
like Bong specifically like
Mm.
lets the scene
Mhm.
play out completely and gives us a completely
Mhm.
false reality,
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
presumably, right?
Yeah.
If we are to
Uh-huh.
believe that like ultimately, you know, he actually
Mm.
does kill her, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
he basically gives us like the wrong scene, or at least
Yeah.
the wrong
Oh,
ending.
I
uh-huh.
didn't think about that actually. I
Did
thought it was
uh-huh.
just like
Right, because
the
what
last
happens is
part
the rock,
cuts out, and then
but he doesn't, right? The rock gets thrown out, and then he
Mhm.
like kind of calls
he
out, I think,
yeah,
uh-huh.
and
calls
then
at her. Yeah, and
then he just turns around and runs off, like scared.
mm,
But actually, what happens is like this woman like calls
Uh-huh.
him a retard,
yeah,
and
Uh-huh.
then he like throws this rock back at her, and then drags her and everything, right?
yeah,
Like,
Right.
and
Oh,
it
uh-huh,
doesn't just cut off the scene; it shows him
uh-huh.
just not doing anything and leaving.
mm,
And
Oh,
like that's
that's
like really, really different than how you would usually play it out, which is you would just not show what happens, and then
oh,
we are sort of assuming that he doesn't do anything, and then
Mhm.
the twist is like, oh no, this actually happened. But like,
Mhm.
it's interesting that he like constructs a completely different scene.
yeah,
That's crazy. Like that's super interesting. I want to rewatch it again
yeah.
because like what I thought would happen is like it's like he just did a cut of the scene. He just cut out the middle. He just showed the end where he's just like
Sleeping with his
like
mom
he
after.
kills her with the rock, and then he's like, "Oh, are you dead?" Like kind of like that mode. Like he doesn't even know he killed her, and then he just like runs back, and I think they just showed you that scene, and then he probably came back and he's like checking on her body again, and then like
Maybe,
dragging her up. That's no. But the thing is like I feel like
but they also do show
yeah,
a
yeah.
scene of what happens when the
Uh-huh.
the guy recounts it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like
he also
uncut
is
version.
showing
Yeah,
what did happen.
Mm.
exactly. That's interesting. I just want to go back and see like if they're actually like super different
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
sequencing
there
and
is
stuff.
like some
Yeah.
sort of like
Uh-huh.
there is like some blind spots in it when
Mhm.
he actually plays it out, but I don't know. I
Huh.
think that's like
Uh-huh.
really, really different than how
Mm.
it would usually be handled. Like he's like
Mhm.
choosing
Mhm.
to like just fuck with us.
Yeah, he
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
did. Yeah.
Or the guy who's recounting the story, you mean? Is like
Oh no no.
maybe
No, the before
Oh yeah.
scene and the
uh
recount scene is so different. That's what he's saying.
oh, what if it's like this is super crazy, but the guy who's recounting the scene, he's just telling bullshit to everybody, like who because he's the one who
Oh.
actually killed her, he slept with her. He's just like I don't know. It's just a far-fetched thing, but
I mean, that could be
I mean
it
it's like
too. Like, oh man,
uh,
I didn't think
so like
about that
nobody,
possibility.
yeah. So both the high school kid and her son isn't the actual criminal. I don't know.
Okay, wait, hold up.
Mm.
I haven't said anything in a while because I've been waiting for a time to jump in. But let me
Mhm.
just put in my like 2 cents. So like that scene when the guy's recounting like what the son like actually did, like quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, we know, or at least this is my like this I kind of like thought about it and like analyzed it. Like we know that the junkyard man like is telling the truth because of the single fact that he recounted the
Mhm.
odd mannerism that the son exhibits whenever he's trying to think really hard, which is he rubs
Oh.
his temples, and we
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
that pins the son with the murder because
Mhm.
the junkyard man would have never have seen him do that because the only time he ever was out in public for the junkyard man to see, he didn't do it. The only time he ever rubbed his temples was near
Mhm.
his mom when she's visiting him, and then
Mhm.
in the jail grounds
Mhm. Mhm.
area. So the junkyard man wouldn't have known that he does that, but because he
Mhm.
Mm.
says it, he knows exactly. We know exactly that he is
Mhm.
telling the truth. So
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I
so
think you're
that
right.
pins
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right because like I feel like he would only do that focusing thing if he like actually committed the murder.
If
Like he
something
wouldn't
happened,
just yeah, if something happened. Or maybe he
yeah.
found the body and then he's freaking out. I don't know. Like I I have no idea.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
And he's just trying to
But
like remember like what happened like from the
Oh,
bar. I
that's
don't
true.
like it could
That's
be I
no,
don't
but
know.
true.
Like
I do think that like just the way that he frames
uh-huh.
that guy's like recollection and his reaction to like um hearing about the son like potentially being let out, like
Mhm.
I just think that framing is like is it's pretty clear that we're supposed to believe that he is telling the truth, right? Like
Yeah.
because like
Because of
just
the
his
temple
reaction.
thing too.
Yeah.
Because nobody would know. Like Pius said. I think that was like the
Mhm.
definite
Yeah.
hint
Yeah.
that he's the he actually saw the whole thing and he remembers
mhm.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most likely.
And were you guys at all like interested? I don't know if this is the right term, but were you guys
Mhm.
interested in like the symbology or like the symbolic kind of like stuff in the
Symbolism.
film? I don't know if I was like just like kind of reading into it too much, but like what I'm talking about, there was two scenes, and like the one that is like relevant to this one is the first time that the mom meets the junkyard man, which is like outside the police precinct,
Yeah.
and she buys an umbrella from him, and it's interesting because like for me, I'm looking at the scene, and it's just like, so a storm is raining on above her, and then also like inside of her, because she's like trying to solve this like murder on her own, like completely, because like even the
Mhm.
like head detective isn't helping her at all.
Yeah.
So she's completely bearing the like the weight of the storm, like figuratively,
Mhm, mhm.
and then she goes to buy the umbrella, and then she offers the man $2 bills, and the guy only takes one. So it's kind of weird because like later on, when she like right before she commits the murder of
Mhm.
him, she realizes that she can't accept the truth, or like that's my kind of like interpretation. She can't accept the truth that like her son did it, so like she kills the guy to like seal her son's innocence, basically, to like kill the one witness that would like completely concrete it. But that like dollar bill thing, it was like kind of weird because like she offered him two, but the guy only took one. So it was like she was like trying to protect herself and her son, but I don't know, this is kind of a stretch hearing it now out loud, but like, so the guy like took the $1 bill, and it's like basically in my mind it was just like he's like gonna like convict her son, like make him guilty, but it doesn't sound as good now. It doesn't sound as good now.
I think that's yeah. So with the dollar that he didn't take, he's just kind of like paying that or like getting that value from convicting her son. Is that what you mean?
Well, kind of. I was basically saying that like the
Mhm.
$2 bills is just like symbolic of
Mhm.
like the two lives of like her mom, of like the
Oh, I
mom and her
see.
son, and she's
Uh-huh.
basically like, so like the storm is raining down on her, and she's
Yeah.
trying to like
Uh-huh.
save like herself and her son, like trying to save her
Uh-huh.
son from being guilty, and then also trying to like
Ah.
save herself by like being a good mother and like whatever. So like that was like the symbology, or like what I read into it. And then like the
Symbolism
junkyard man
of it.
only taking $1 bill, it's like, yeah, she's like offering like both herself and her son, and like the guy only takes her son. So it's like, so later on she like commits a murder, but like I don't really know exactly how that like lines up now, like when I'm thinking about it, but
Man.
No, I think
Pi-
that's awesome. Yeah,
that is
really
awesome.
good.
I think Paya
Yeah.
should be like a high school English teacher or something. Reading
Oh,
some
it's
book and
almost
like,
like
this
symbolism.
Gatsby's champagne means this and the.
oh god.
Wow, that's really
That's
cool. Yeah,
that's a
I think
cool
no, if you
like
yeah, if you
interpretation
think
of that
about that
scene.
scene, it just introduces the junkyard guy, but like they didn't have to put that in there. So yeah,
Right.
I think that actually might be even what the director intended. That's super cool. Yeah.
Wait,
I
what do you mean they didn't have to put that in there?
like they
Well,
didn't have
it
to
kind
do
of
the like
establishes the character that he exists, but they tie it back. But there's no like, I didn't get any like, I didn't analyze it too much, but there wasn't like any tie-in other than like she saw him at the beginning. Like there wasn't, I didn't think like there would have been any, like it could have, they could
No,
have
I mean,
taken
I
that
think
scene out.
when she goes back, like, and she, when he recalls the face, and then she's like, I've seen it. Like, you definitely need that.
like some kind of a oddity where he just only takes one, that kind of thing.
Oh no, like when
Maybe.
when
Well,
she's
is that what
seeing
you're
the
referring to?
phone.
Are you saying you don't
or-
need that part?
I think what he was trying to say is that like that scene didn't have to be that complicated, as in like he just takes the money and goes, instead of like he only took one.
Oh,
Instead
like
of
just
two.
the choosing of the one. Oh.
Yeah, because that's odd, right? Like if someone offers you $2, would you only take $1?
Yeah. I thought it just meant
Yeah.
he's like honest or something.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
that's what I
thinking-
thought
thinking
too.
that.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I
Like,
thought
I was thinking
I
there's a
kinda
certain level of
uh-huh.
I mean, even going back
this
to what we were
person.
saying about whether or not we should believe him,
Yeah.
Mhm,
maybe,
mhm.
but I mean, it's also just more. It's just like it's more of like a striking memory, right? Like
Mm.
when we go back, because when we
That's
first watched
true.
it, we were like, "What the fuck? This is like,
Yeah,
who the
like
fuck is this?"
yeah. Yeah, yeah, when you first watch it, you're just like, okay, he only took one.
Yeah,
Weird guy. And at the end you're just like, oh shit. Oh shit, he's on the phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um
was it your first viewing as well, Brandon?
Yeah, it was.
And you too, Albert?
oh, this is my second time. I watched
Second
the
time?
second time
I
today.
see.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was just
Oh.
curious about both Brandon and Piet's just like their impression because first time, like especially the twists. I just kind of I'm
Yeah,
just kind of
I mean,
curious. Yeah.
I personally, and maybe this is just because of like our conversation last time with like memories of murder and like
Mm,
I
Mhm.
know like
the lost chapter. Yeah.
the lost chapter,
That was chapter.
our unrecorded conversation. Because and you know, of course, like I said last time, it's a lot of it's just tied into like where my head is at lately. Um,
Mm,
being like hyper leftist and
mm,
um
Mhm.
thinking about like um structures of power and like police and stuff like that, and because like it's pretty clear that I think Bong has been someone who is very critical of power.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
like I think watching this one I just already had that mindset because that's been such a through line in Bong's
Yeah,
like I
he's
guess
super
later
left
films.
too. He's super left
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Yeah, like right, like you know what? Obviously, Parasite, Snowpiercer. I mean, even like I mean, Okja for sure, and
Yeah.
Memories of Murder. We talked about like just the political context there,
Yeah.
like and
Mhm,
like
mhm.
um yeah. I don't know. Like when I was watching it here, I feel like I had that mindset, but like I do think like I was like honestly, he just constructs like a really compelling like murder mystery with like twists and thrillers, and I think I was like trying too hard to think about that type of stuff because you know there are like police involved in this one, but I don't think that there's much of a critique necessarily there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think part of me was like, yeah, I think it's just like it's just a great thriller. I mean, he like there's so much great like tension, like that the scene with the water bottle was really
Yeah.
Mhm.
was really great and
When they're sleeping, when she intruded the
yeah.
house and then this guy was
Yeah.
sleeping and the water fell down. It's almost touching his hand and ah, gotta get
Yeah,
out
no,
of there. Yeah, that kind of thing.
it was great, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it was just a very entertaining
Mm.
movie, and
Mhm.
I mean, there was also a lot of like some strange stuff that I liked, but like the ending, I was really interested in. I want to talk about, but
Mm.
um, I
Mhm.
really loved that ending, but um,
Mm, mhm.
I was curious, like what he might have been trying to say with that kind of like imagery
Mm.
because that shot I really like that ending shot. He really like lingers on this like
Mhm.
On the
so the
bus.
ending basically
Yeah.
just to like summarize is like she like leaves on this like sort of like trip I guess for
Tour bus kind of thing
like tour bus
with
trip for
a
like
lot
mom
of yeah.
and she ends up like taking that acupuncture tin that her son had given her and like puts a needle in her thigh and throughout the movie she's basically said like a couple times
Mhm.
to a couple different people like oh I know this acupuncture technique that will help you like forget like
Bad
bad stuff or something
things.
like that
Yeah.
right
Bad
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so
memories.
she ends up putting that in herself
Mhm.
and this is obviously after she like has murdered someone and knows that her son is guilty but that has basically allowed this other person to go away for be put in prison for his crime and so like
Mhm.
she puts that in her thigh to you know forget about that stuff and like the the final shot is like her joining this like line of mothers who are like dancing in the bus,
Yeah.
but it
Mhm.
like it goes to like this outside shot of like their silhouettes on the bus, and like
Yeah.
it's like
Mhm.
it's a really really like long shot that's like hyper zoomed in, so like it's like the movement is like really shaky and like frenetic,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
and he really lingers on it for so long, and then it just cuts to black after, and like I really like that
Mm.
final
Mhm.
shot, but I was curious what you guys thought about like
Mm.
just that
Okay.
choosing to end on that kind of imagery there,
All right. All right.
Mhm.
right?
Let
Which
me
is
give
like,
you
I mean,
like a little background on that scene.
oh, okay.
So in Korea, like old mothers, they used to go to this tour bus with like a lot of songs in it, and they just sing and dance in there with their friends basically. That's the tour bus, the
So like
mother's
it's a
tour
thing.
bus. It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
it's still a thing, but back then, like even my grandma still, when she was younger, she would go on that bus and just do that, you know.
Mhm.
And I think Bong Joon specifically said that he said that like when I was young, when I saw those people on the bus just dancing, not even getting out of the bus, he thought that it was like ugly and like why are they doing this?
Mm.
And he was like,
Mm.
oh, now that I'm old, I kind of understand because
Mhm.
mothers, they
Yeah.
cannot show up anywhere like being like that, so they're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that in the bus. That's what he kind of said on the interview. And I kind of
I
agree
like
with
that. Like,
that imagery where they look deranged, like
Right.
yeah,
really
right. So like I was
deranged.
thinking
Yeah.
like there's an aspect to it of her like yes, trying like them being able to be free and they're sort of their own people and like
Yeah.
dancing and showing that, but also yes, like the movement of the camera and just the way that he like constructs that shot. Yeah,
Mhm.
they look kind of like deranged.
Fanatics, man. They they, they
Yeah,
they they look like they're dancing on someone burning on the post and just dancing around it
Right.
or something.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
The shot makes it
Yeah.
look like that more because of the background is like kind of like reddish orange
Like
and like
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and like I yeah, that's great. I think it goes back to just what we were saying earlier, like about the idea of like
Mhm.
motherhood and like the fact that she's doing this thing where she's like kind of free. She's like put
Right.
this needle in her
yeah.
thigh to sort of be free of that. And then
Mhm.
she's joining this line of other mothers and they're dancing and like they maybe there is a certain sense of joy finally, but it's like also you've seen what she's done and she's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
she is kind of deranged.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For
She's
sure.
crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I
Well,
really like that too. It's just I think it just showed that the needle basically is the acupuncture that she gives to herself is like freeing herself from all this motherly burden that she had to go through, and then she
Yeah.
just joins this deranged group,
yeah.
Yeah.
who also has some kind of burden, and they're just letting it go
Sure.
at one shot on the bus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really like this scene. Anyway, like, what about you guys? What about Yoon and Pyatt? How did you guys see it?
I
That scene or
Yeah, that
that's
scene.
it.
oh.
I had some background like you going in. Like I just heard that he basically filmed this entire movie thinking about that scene first. Like
Mm,
I saw an interview where he said he had that scene imagery in his head for like the longest time. And then he wanted to make a movie kind of based on that, and that was Mother. So I thought that was
mm,
pretty crazy.
That's pretty
Uh
cool.
yeah. So like that scene specifically and like the details you mentioned, the shaky cam, like the sunset and everything, that was like purposely like everything was meticulously purposely done. And they shot
Mm.
that like hundreds of times to get this time, the silhouette and everything right,
Damn.
uh
Uh,
that Bong Joon wanted. So yeah, that's
mm.
yeah, it's pretty neat that you like notice all those details. Like when I saw it, I was just I had that same idea. It's just like all these mothers basically I was thinking more like, obviously we've seen the main character's mother, but like, all the other
Mhm.
mothers might have something not to this extent, but something crazy that they're holding,
Yeah,
and they're
they
like
had to
kind of all
do as a
releasing,
mother.
yeah,
Yeah.
in like this ritualistic kind of way,
Right.
Yeah,
like
it
how
did look
they
like a
portrayed it.
ritual. Yeah.
So that's what I thought. How about you, Pit?
Um. So that scene, it was basically like reminiscent for me of the very first scene, because
Yes.
from like
Yes.
the very get go, like I'm already hooked, and like
Mhm.
I'm already thinking that the mother's like some like crazy kind of weird character, because like from like the
Yeah.
very beginning, the way that they score that scene, it's kind of like sad, but it's also kind of like peaceful, which is like it's very it's very well matched to the scenery because she's
Mm.
like in like the wild grass or like whatever that is,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then she like breaks out dancing, and it's like it's weird, like it's like, is she drunk, is she crazy, like I don't know
Mhm.
what she is, but like i'm like I'm buckled in, I'm ready for this ride kind of thing. So like
Yeah, it was a strong
so
start. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like, and then the music picks up, and then like it pans away, and the movie starts like for real. So like when that last scene happens, it's like that dancing that she started doing in the first scene. It's like the same exact thing. So it's like the whole thing, like when you said deranged, Albert, that's like exactly how I felt about it,
Mm.
like from the very beginning till like the very end. Just like the mother's just kind of deranged a little bit on the inside, and like from the story we can kind of tell why, like
Mhm.
she is that way at the end. And like the very first scene, like while I'm watching the movie, like when she like burned down the like the junkyard man's like house, I was kind of
Yeah.
wondering if like if they were gonna bring back that first scene, and like they were gonna like show her like kind of dancing
Yeah.
in the grass, like kind of
Mhm.
in this like wild frenzy kind of thing, um because she like just murdered her man, she just like completely like lost her mind kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's like it's really good like how he like paints the picture like of the movie, because like every scene, like the significance changes with new information. So
Yes.
it's really interesting how the like story develops that way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
also like
What?
I think the specifically the fact that it's like totally like the connection to the first scene, totally feel that, like, but also that ending scene, her doing that within this context of like, I think something that is just part of what, like in Korea, right? Like these mother tour things, right?
yeah, tour bus thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that she's doing that within this context, it's like she is individually like deranged, but also like at the same time, like this goes back to what we were saying at the start. It's like that's part of what motherhood
Yeah.
is like there is a kind of love that makes you fucking deranged, or like can
Sure.
push you to the point of being deranged for the sake of your motherly love.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
For
she's
your
she's
for your
yeah,
offsprings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is like scary but also
Right.
very real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
I.
just completely
Uh-huh.
shattered our concept of this sacred love. And he's just like, "No, you're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. They're fucking
Uh-huh.
Well, I
crazy."
mean, I don't know if it's wrong, right? Like, I don't think it's
I.
wrong.
No,
Like,
no,
it's
I'm
like,
saying it's like it's mostly it's like a punch. Like, hey, look at the
Mhm.
fucking other side. Sometimes it doesn't look that good either. It's just like sometimes it's fucking crazy.
yeah,
I think that's what
Mhm.
he was trying to say. Like, just look at the other side too. Like, some
Uh-huh.
mothers do this kind of things. I mean,
Mhm.
in Korea, it's kind of fucking sad. It's almost sad. Like, some mothers bribe their teachers like with money so that
Mm-hmm.
like
yeah,
the kid gets better grades and all that stuff. And, like,
Mhm.
there's
yeah,
definitely a lot of like weird
Mhm.
love they give, that
Mhm.
socially and morally is questionable, you
Mhm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this movie was like going to the extreme of that
yeah.
craziness, I would say,
Mhm.
of this
I. Uh-huh.
love. Yeah.
yeah, like I think that's interesting because like when I was watching it again, I kind of I kind of put myself in the mother's shoes, right? Like, what would I do? Like,
Mhm.
if my child was in that situation and it's like life or death, maybe more extreme than this, life or death, like, or like that famous trolley problem. If like, what if your son is like on the left side of the railroad track, and then you have to decide if you're gonna kill your son or like two random people? Like, what would you do? Like, I don't
Mm,
know. I just kind of just thought about it. Like, obviously people value their relatives
more.
more
Yeah.
than outsiders.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's like I think like when I first saw it, I was just like, this mom's just crazy. But like my I guess second and third time viewing, I kind of like kind of see like where like
Where
I don't
she's
think I'm
coming
not saying
from.
I would do it, but like yeah, I totally kind of get like that happening.
Mm,
Mhm.
Um, like it's not too crazy, I would say.
mm.
Yeah, and I don't think
Yeah,
we're supposed to just be like, oh, this bitch is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Right. Shit.
No, I think this movie was to like understand the crazy side of, you know, of
or
this.
like what to what extent, I guess,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like basically, yeah. Would you? It seemed like full altruism at this point that the mother had, and yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I don't think that's like actually that's pretty rare. I think.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah. But I still think that like Bong Joon is still pushing that, thought that, mothers or mother's love can be crazy, and it's just I don't know, man. Anyway,
What?
When this movie came out, like how big was it in
it,
Korea?
it was it was super huge. It got a lot of awards
Yeah.
also, like
It's
Academy
really
Awards, I
interesting.
think.
Like Korea, like your like bigger films are like auteur films. I don't know. It's like maybe I'm wrong because maybe they're just also a bunch of other stuff. But
Mm,
um, like a movie like this,
Mhm.
made in America, like by would just be like a great but like small film that wouldn't get
mm,
mainstream attention. I don't
oh,
think, at least some mainstream moviegoers. But it's like it's
Yeah.
interesting because like Bong is basically like this like massive um, star in
yeah,
his
Mhm.
country, and like
Mhm.
I don't think I mean, just Hollywood, the types of mainstream films are generally like, I guess maybe like another one would be like Scorsese here, because like,
Mhm.
everyone watched
Mhm.
like fucking Wolf of Wall Street and shit, but
yeah.
um, or Tarantino maybe,
Mm.
but
Tarantino is like B-rated movie, but A. It's
well, yeah, he
yeah,
leans
Yeah.
into like sort of like you know those kinds of like pulpy things, but with
yeah.
like, but he's also a fucking you know a great filmmaker, so
He is,
Mhm.
yeah.
there's an irony to it, but I don't know. It's just interesting that like I think it's great that like someone like
Mhm.
Bong is his kinds of films like get so much attention and
Mm,
Mhm.
so many people watch it.
yeah,
Yeah. And they're like, I haven't the first one. I don't think it's like that, but like most of his films are very dark.
yeah,
Like it
Yeah.
shows a dark side of humanity.
yeah,
Um, and like obviously I would think like the mainstream is like, this you get this, obviously this protagonist overcomes something and happy ending. Like that's just like the basic formula.
yeah. The
The
Hollywood formula,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Hollywood formula.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is him and this other
Park
director
Chan-wook,
Park Chan-wook.
yeah,
They both make like
Yeah.
really gritty dark films, and they're both kind
Yeah.
of like widely acclaimed and like mainstream. I'd say.
yeah. We
So
should
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
try
he made
try
like
his movie too.
Old Boy.
Old boy and
Bakji,
I like
like
the
stuff.
Bat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thirst. I think that's the American name.
Um. Anyway, back to the movie. um.
We
so
we
Hey,
haven't
I'm
I
talking
really.
about Bong.
yeah, I know,
Yeah,
but I want to talk about a scene.
yeah.
Dude,
Okay.
do you guys remember when she killed the man, right?
Yeah.
It's such a it's like carved into your bone when you watch it, man. It's like, oh, when she's like, oh, no, it's not my son, and then
Yeah.
and he's like, oh shit, he got the police is letting him go. I'm gonna call the police, and she just fucking smacks that old person with
Yeah.
the hammer. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, you're not even you're worse than my son's toenail. You know?
Right.
And she's just like keeps smacking this person without
Yeah.
changing her face. It's just like, oh my, you're a fucking scum, basically. The face
Yeah,
is
it's
just,
like it's super shocking, but also it's like there's a part of you that's kind of like waiting for that moment for her to
yeah,
snap.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then after that, she just realized that she killed a person, right? And she's
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, what did I fucking do?
Mm-hmm.
Then she
Right.
wipes. The best scene from that killing scene is when she wipes the blood and she cries out for her mother.
Right.
Dude, I was just like,
I don't remember that. What
I
does she
was
do?
so chilled. She was you know, after she realized that she killed a man, she gets into shock and she's just like, oh, what the fuck do I do, right?
Mhm.
Then she wipes the blood on the floor, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
she cries while doing the calling her mother.
Hmm.
And I don't know why, but that scene just gave me chills, man. That
Yeah.
scene just gave me chills. Like mother
Yeah.
looking for a mother,
Right.
you know. You don't
Yeah.
really think that when you're with your mother, you know. You're just like, oh, mother is just this kind of figure where you can rely on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when she shouted mother, and I was like, so a mother has a mother also. Like mother has to rely on someone also.
Yeah.
Like she's
Yeah.
not this like godly figure where she can
Yeah.
just take in everything.
Mhm.
You know, that scene was
Well,
just
Like
a
the
lot for me.
vulnerabilities that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
well, also the
yeah.
also that scene, to me, it kind of seems similar to the way that her son handled his murder.
Mm,
Like they both were like kind of helpless, and like the son was like very indecisive, with like how many times he like opened his phone to see if he should call somebody.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah.
the mother like shows that kind of like vulnerability, like you said, like when she's calling for her mother. So like both of them, you can kind of see that they're helpless, kind of like in their character as like people. Like they both like, I mean, obviously they're doing like they did terrible things, and like it's like haunting that they like would even commit that. Even for them, it's haunting to them. So for me, it's just kind of like a parallel um, between the two scenes.
Mm,
I also like after when she like there's just like this really really long take when she's like burning down the place,
yeah.
and like
Mhm.
there's like no cuts, and like it's her slowly like moving through the place,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
burning
Mhm.
things down. And at that point she's pretty like blank faced.
Yeah.
And like hold on one second. I'm so sorry. I'm like
Okay.
interrupting this. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That scene just shot right at me, man. It's just oh.
Yeah, are you talking about the vulnerable, like mother
Yeah, mother
vulnerable,
calling
or
for a
when she's
mother.
burning down?
Yeah. Mother calling mother.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Brandon,
Super intense.
you back?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just like that take, and
Mhm.
take this long take, and yeah, I was saying at that point she's like basically like numb, I
Yeah.
guess, and like, is pretty expressionless.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But also just like watching, I'm like, shit, man, how do they do that scene?
I was thinking that too.
Like when it's like one long take, also, right? They don't cut it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm sure maybe there are some like like post production effects to the fire and stuff.
Mm,
Right.
But like she like you just watch her in one take like slowly burn everything, and it's like
Yeah.
like, shit, how do they fucking do that? Like, it's terrifying. She's like right next to the fire, surrounds her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure, I'm sure like there probably wasn't really, maybe there wasn't even
Yeah, I heard
gunfire
that
at
there
all.
was almost an accident. The gas tank like blew up or
Really?
something when they're
Oh,
doing
so
that.
it's
Dude, I
actually.
remember watching it and going, shit, man, isn't it crazy how
Mhm.
like it's obviously like a prop, but like just the idea of me lighting that like seems, I would be so terrified
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
about the
fucking
possibility
fire.
of things blowing up.
Yeah.
But there was actually like a,
I heard that there was an accident while that like filming that scene. Nobody got hurt, but
Uh-huh.
you know.
that's crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, they basically did fucking burn everything, and like
Yeah.
that's insane to me.
That is insane.
Yeah. And like you said, one take. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like they
crazy.
do it in one take, and I'm like,
Yeah.
does it? If you're actually burning it, does that mean you are? Maybe they just gotta like reset, and it takes forever,
Maybe.
or are they literally just like, no, we only have one shot?
Maybe
So-
she did it in one shot. Who knows?
Maybe, but that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. It's some
Yeah.
crazy stunt, but that scene was pretty great. You know, just burning
Mhm.
everything down. She's just
Mhm.
yeah. After that, she's just like, oh fuck it. Like I've already done it. Like I'm going through with this. Fuck it, and then she just leaves, and then I think that scene after that scene connects to the first scene, right, where she dances. Yeah,
Yeah.
where she's just like, oh fuck it, I'ma just enjoy whatever. She just goes
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Because they don't show her dancing in the second time around.
No, no,
Mhm.
she doesn't.
But assuming that the dancing scene that we see at the start is at this like at the same time
I
as
think
when
it
we see
is.
her
I
after the
think it
murder,
is.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what do you guys think about why she's dancing there and why she's dancing like that? Is it just because she's like, oh yeah, she's really lost it now, and she's like she feels like at peace that her son is going to be safe, or
I think it's
but there's a
both.
certain level of her just being like, holy shit, you were fucking crazy now.
Yeah, I think it's
Mm.
both. As in, like
Mhm.
she's you know, she's kind of relieved, and also because at some point, like she smiles while dancing, covering her eyes. You know,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think it's just like happiness and craziness, just
Mm.
and
Mhm.
all those things just bursting out at the same time while dancing.
Mhm.
Like she has to get it out somehow, and she's doing
Yeah.
it with dancing, basically.
Right.
I agree because like I think I don't know I it's just assumed that time has passed after the case and then she goes like on the trip like that's just what I'm assuming and like at the
No, no,
beginning she was like
the first scene though.
oh no but you're saying the first scene connects with the last scene right?
First scene connects with the murder scene, the fire scene.
Mhm.
After
So
the
like,
fire.
yeah.
Oh I thought you were
No,
talking
no, yeah, no,
about
we're not
like
talking about
the
the trip.
dancing. Okay.
No, basically, like after she murders him,
Mhm.
it does show her like a clip of her walking in like the weeds
Yeah.
Mhm.
in the
In the
same
background is
location.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're assuming that basically at the start of the movie, her dancing is like right after the murder.
Yeah.
Mm,
Because they have same clothes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see.
So yeah, I think at that point, is it just like she's dancing because like it shows her relief, but also the fact that she's at a point of like of officially kind of like tipping
Mhm.
into the edge of her, you know,
Mhm.
Part
being
of darkness.
yeah, kind of basically.
Yeah.
And
Mhm. That's
yeah,
yeah, maybe she's just yeah. I think the lesson actually does tie in with it then, like if she's dancing.
Mm.
Because like what caught my attention was before she got on the bus and she's talking to her son, she was just like smiling and stuff. And as soon as he gave her like the acupuncture toolkit, like she just snapped
Yeah.
like
yeah,
from
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So I think like she's just like remembering that she did all this. Like
Hmm.
kind of goes back to when she's like dancing after the murder. She just starts
Mm.
dancing and like completely maybe like releasing it in relief or like just all these mixed emotions, and
Mm.
I think there's maybe a connection there of like just dancing and when that happens.
I definitely think the
Kind
dancing
of.
is kind of a theme throughout the movie. No, not throughout the movie, but the first part and the last part. Dancing is something telling
Yeah.
us that like
Mhm.
Yeah.
she's crazy. She's gonna be
Right.
crazy or something.
Mhm,
You know.
mhm,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I never really thought about that. I guess this goes back to what Pi was saying.
mhm.
Like they're specifically dancing in both of those, like beginning and
And
end
the
is
end.
like specifically the act of dancing. And yeah, in
Mhm.
both she does look like kind of off the deep end.
Yep.
Yeah. That I don't know. I just like what Brandon said at the beginning of like her acting is just like I think that's like
Yeah, she's really.
yeah, she's just so good.
Is she
Uh,
like a note like a pretty notable actress?
She's very she's been there for a long ass time and she's been
mhm.
known
Oh
and
yeah.
she's been known that she's good at acting. And she always acted as a mother
Mm.
Yeah.
on like dramas, movies, whatever.
Okay,
Mhm.
so
So
she was like a star,
she
like
was yeah,
as a lead. Okay.
she was a star.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's really great.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah, she's
She was oh
it,
man, like every
the
time I'm
one
just like
uh-huh.
I'm feeling her emotions every time she follows a case. I'm just like, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what should we do now?" You know?
Uh-huh.
That kind of feeling. That
Mhm.
just it just touches you, man, right away when she
Mhm.
acts. It was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I like the like how she interacted with people and the emotions at the time, and like at points in the plot, like when she finds out like her son actually did it, and like before that, like all that is just like so believable in her acting.
Yeah.
Like one scene in particular that's not really like relevant to that, but like that I was just like, this is crazy acting. Is like one of the beginning scenes. I think she after he goes to I think this is after the like incident with the golf club and like the BMW. She gives
Mercedes.
yeah the Mercedes Benz. She gives her son like this chicken soup, like known to be good for the body,
Yeah.
and like when she's like feeding him and stuff, like her eyes and like there's a scene where the son is like he can't eat really well, like he's just like struggling a bit to eat, like just like has the chicken in his mouth and he's just trying to rip it
Yeah.
apart. There's an expression that she has where she's just like, oh, like I really want to help you, and like I don't know,
Yeah.
that was just like so crazy, the
That shit was
like
crazy.
her eyes and the detail of like her facial expression.
Yeah.
Just thought it was amazing.
My mother used to be like that. Like she would just get all the meat from the fish and give it to me instead of her eating. Even chicken, dude. When I was like 5 or something, she just does everything and just, oh my God, oh, eat this, eat this. I'm just like, I can eat, you know. I was exactly the same as that protagonist, basically. Like I can eat. Like just let me eat. Yeah, that scene was pretty good too. Like it was kind of nostalgic, and also it's like,
Mhm.
you know, do you need to help your son that much at the same time? Like that kind of feeling came into.
Mhm.
I also
I
want to
don't.
talk about another scene where you met this JP guy, the
Mhm.
the the guy who got arrested for the murder instead of
Mhm.
the son, Dojun, right?
Mhm.
When she meets the guy, the crazy guy, or I think he's also like mentally ill,
Yeah, I think so
right?
too.
Not mentally ill. I mean, he's like mentally handicapped.
Yeah, mentally
Handicapped, yeah.
handicapped.
Right.
That's what I meant. And she looks at him and he's just like, "Oh my God, like, do you have a mother?" And he's like, "No." And she bursts out crying. You know, that scene was kind of weird for me too because like, um, you
Well, I
know,
think yeah, like because the fact that he is also like
Also mentally handicapped.
also mentally handicapped. Like she is like mourning the fact that like she kind of sees her. I thought like she can see her son in him
Yeah.
also,
Right.
right? And
Definitely.
she's basically like, and now you have to
Do
go
the-
away for what my son
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
And also, yeah, like he doesn't have a mother, and that was like an interesting question too. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
for to ask, but
Yeah.
What about
We
you?
don't-
You guys like Yoon and Paya? What did you guys think while watching that?
That specific scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when she like starts crying. I
Yeah.
feel like that's like the yeah. I was just like yeah. I think she's trying to show that emotion of like seeing her son, and I think it's purposely done that they're like maybe like both kind of mentally handicapped and like they can't really they're like both like kind of defenseless in a
Yeah.
sense like when they're both like probably questioned like he told the truth about like it's a nosebleed but like he can't like talk any way out of it to actually
No.
prove it and then he's just like pinned so it's like kind of the
Mhm.
same of how her son was treated or like pinned at the beginning
Mm.
like completely helpless and yeah like Brandon said like I think it's an important fact that she asked like if his mother like if she's there um yeah so I thought it was just like yeah like she totally uh like I think that's like that breakdown scene was where she's just like yeah this I see my son in him
Mm.
yeah
I was
Well,
wondering if. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
well, I was just gonna put in my bit. What was I gonna say? So that scene, that's after her shift in character, because like the whole movie, or at least like from like whatever scene I'm thinking of, when she's talking to her friend, the one that like develops photos, and like the mom is like consistently coaching her. Like there's like two scenes, like that scene, and then like or the scene I'm thinking of, and then like a scene before where like the mother's coaching her to like get pregnant and like giving her acupuncture and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the friend, this is what I want to make a point of. The friend points out that her son has really nice eyes or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
mother says
Mhm.
like, yeah, she has eyes like he has eyes like mine. So then after that scene, I'm paying attention completely to the mother's eyes, like from that
Mm.
point on. And then after she commits the murder, her eyes completely shift. You can see there's like a darkness and like a heaviness in her eyes. Whereas before it was kind of like a doe-like kind of feature or something, kind of innocent, but like
Mm.
worried, and then like
Yeah.
afterwards is like kind of dark and heavy. So there's like that complete shift. And then she's like, and then obviously that scene is where the like police officer tells her that like they caught the guy, and like it just so happens to be a coincidence that like the guy like was like out of the sanatorium at the time of the murder, and he also had the blood of the victim, even though that from that same friend that told her that she has the same eyes as her son or whatever. She also finds out, I think, in that scene. Oh yeah, from her that the victim gets nosebleeds or whatever
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she's
Yeah. Yeah.
recounting the story of like when she came in to
Mhm.
get the photos developed. So all of it is just coincidence, and like so going into that scene, that the accused is like completely innocent, especially
Mhm.
with like the junkyard man's account of the event of the murder, and then you see like the conversation, the dynamic between them, and it's like she asks him, "Do you have any parents?" And like that might just be like kind of like I don't know, like just wondering if he has like any kind of support, like any kind of like family support. And
Mm.
then she asked the specific question, do you have a mother? And like that's like where like I was like, okay, that's more like of a sentimental like value. Like she's
Mm.
like completely bonding with this guy who's completely innocent, but like who reminds her of her son because of his like mental challenges, and it's just it's crazy to me um because of the son's recount of the event, and then the junkyard man's of the event of the murder. You can tell that he's like he's like in denial or something. So like he's disassociating from like what actually is happening. And then you have this other kid, JB, who's like in the sanatorium because he's like mentally challenged, but maybe not necessarily as ill as the son. So like it's a weird trait in places for me, just because the son kind of seems like he belongs in that sanatorium because of the murder, but also because he can't accept it for himself.
Yeah.
And then the guy who's like being accused is like innocent and like maybe like not actually like crazy, even like he's just like in the wrong place at the wrong time, and like maybe, I don't know, he just seems like he doesn't seem like he's like disassociating from reality like the son is like actively doing for like the rest of the movie, you know.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting.
Do we meet like with JB? I'm trying to remember like
JP, man, JP.
yeah, JP. Like where else do we see him? Do we see him in the
No.
photos?
No, you just hear about him, as in like,
Yeah,
oh,
you just hear about it.
this crazy
Okay.
guy JP thinks that the victim is his girlfriend.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh yeah, JP's crazy, JP's ugly. And that's
Yeah.
all you hear about it.
Yeah, I think that's the first. She asks like the kids playing that little game,
Yeah.
and she gives like them money. I think that's the first mention of JP.
Actually,
He's like he's super ugly or something.
the um
Hmm.
the detective says that JP got out of the sanatorium. That's where it
Mhm.
starts, and then she hears about JP, about the kids, and from the
Mhm.
kids, that he's ugly and crazy, basically.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Brandon, what'd you
Oh
ask?
no, I mean, no, I was just curious because I was like trying to think back of like when else we might have
Or
like
JP,
ever caught a glimpse
or
of
saw.
him. Because I was thinking like, did we see him in the photos? But
No, I don't
no.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see his photos until she met him in the
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. Like,
Yeah. Maybe a little tied to Memories of Murder, but like I know we kind of talked about this before, of like the police being kind of,
yeah,
like
oh,
kind of
you did
incapable
it.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slightly in that. Yeah.
yeah. I feel like this one. I mean, they're just like pinning on basically like kind of like,
Just
yeah,
one evidence,
anyone. Yeah, it's
and
not
they're like,
like
"Oh, you did it,
really
right?"
solid
Yeah,
evidence,
Yeah.
but they're just like, yeah, it's like most likely. So we're just gonna like, yeah. So I
yeah, I
thought that
know
was
you
kind
did
of
it. Just
interesting.
sign the paper, and they're
Like
just
how
like,
easy it
I
was
don't
for
know what
them.
this
Yeah.
paper does. I'll sign it, I
Yeah.
guess, because they're like 7-year-old kids.
Yeah,
They don't understand
completely
anything,
defenseless.
and they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, they told me to
Yeah.
sign it, so I'll sign it.
But yeah, that's the thing. No one kind of like questions it or anything. They're just like, yeah, they completely believe it. Like it might have been the case he didn't kill her. I'm just saying, but
Yeah, but like just like with memories, it's like
uh-huh.
I think it's almost like irrelevant. It's more like what is going to like hold up as like in court,
Hmm.
assuming that it is something that will,
Hmm.
like that they are thinking that far. But like basically, it's just like
Hmm.
what is strong enough evidence, what actually will hold up,
Hmm.
less like what is
Hmm.
actually like true
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
just. But I mean, I
Hmm.
don't think like Memories of Murder. Like I think clearly there were critiques towards that, and I think in this one it's less
Yeah, a little
it's
less.
less
Yeah.
like pointed in,
Hmm.
in critiquing it. But yeah, same thing. Like I remember
Hmm.
also when I think the mom's in the car and she asks about like how do you know or something like that, and they say
Hmm.
I want to say like there was something about the way they said like yeah like um it was the blood or whatever that matches, and like there's something about the way they phrased it that was like oh yeah there's like that evidence is like you like that's like the strongest evidence you can have or something like that.
Yeah, he
So
said,
Yeah,
"Oh,
it,
there
it,
was a
it
blood
carried
on
away.
his shirt
they're
or
like
something."
You know, that's the thing is because if I think about it, they found a fucking golf ball and then they're like, they got some witnesses that
Yeah.
there he was like after Manhattan he was chasing the girl or whatever.
No,
But
he was horny
oh, he
after
was horny. That
Manhattan,
was it. And then
and
they
they
found
found a
his
golf
golf
ball
ball,
with
and
his
they're
name
like
on it.
100% this case is closed on
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And then they overturn it because they found some like blood on this guy's
JP's shirt.
shirt or something.
Yeah,
But like that nosebleed, they could investigate and like actually
Yeah.
like know that it's a possibility. But they're like, he just like thought of this bullshit response. Like that's the like kind of what they
yeah,
showed in the car, like
yeah,
of the detectives talking.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like what I felt was like this is kind of like completely BS. They're like it's almost like yeah, they're not doing enough research. Like
Like
even
they only
the
care about what is going to be like what
yeah
is going to close the case enough for them to say that they like
Yeah, it's him.
solved
they
this
convicted
Yeah.
somebody, or that they solved it.
yeah. Because I'd imagine yeah, like the locals are like someone just died in our fucking neighborhood. Like this case is not closed. Obviously,
Yeah.
like there's like pressures there and stuff.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
in this movie it was not that noticeable because it was mostly focused on the mother, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So like it was
obviously,
more
yeah.
like
I was just
a
like
story
because I
plot.
watched and we talked about it. I
Yeah,
kind of noticed it on my third viewing.
yeah,
Yeah, and
Like
I'm also
more,
like
yeah,
based on all the stuff we talked about, like with Memories Murder, like it's clear that even if it's not like a focal point for
hmm
this movie, like thematically, like you know that Bong is definitely like
yeah.
yeah. Not
Like he
he's
not
has
he
an
doesn't
definitely
like
like
opinion,
he doesn't
opinion
like the
about.
police, man. He
Yeah.
doesn't draw police very pretty, like
yeah.
all the
Well,
time.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that though, right? Because
Mm.
like that's a different perspective than at least in America. I mean, all the stuff that we talk about,
Yeah.
like what people are calling like propaganda, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, like it's refreshing to see something that's like at least more critical and like discerning than just like,
Mm.
oh wow, these cops are like they're so badass and they fucking like they like which is like the
Oh,
majority
look
of
at
what we
this
see.
detective. He's
Yeah.
so good.
So badass, or even if they like, I mean, there's that trope of like, oh,
Mhm.
like you don't play by the books, but god damn it, you get the job done or whatever.
Yeah,
Like even in
definitely.
those cases,
Yeah.
it's
Uh-huh.
like that's actually worse because you're basically glorifying the fact that like
Yeah, exactly.
if you break the law, it doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter as long as you
Yeah.
achieve some form of justice, which also is like, what the fuck does justice even mean
Yeah.
in those
Right.
scenarios? But
Yeah. One shot just stood out. I think the composition shot where they show the dead body on the roof, and then right underneath there's the three detectives talking about it.
Yeah.
Like that,
yeah,
it was just like so purposely, I think, like composition that way, because like it's just like so perfect that it's like the body's in the left quadrant, the first
Yeah.
left top
Yeah,
quadrant, and
left top
then
corner.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it shows like the entire expanse of the bottom of the floor of like the first floor, and then the detectives there
Yeah.
in like a upwards view. So I just thought that was like I saw that, I'm like, yeah, I think that's like completely purposely done.
In
Uh,
what
Mm.
sense?
yeah, maybe it was just trying to highlight that they talk about later like why is the body like not buried and like why is it put out like tanked to everyone to see? Yeah, and the
Oh.
police don't like even mention that, or
Yeah.
maybe they just don't show it in the movie. But
Police just
yeah, I
talks about,
think
oh, we didn't have murder in so long. That's their
yeah, that's all they
conversation.
talk
Yeah.
about, and it's crazy because I think that not his friend, but the guy who broke the BMW and the guy who ends up like helping the
Benz.
mom. Yeah. The fence.
Yeah.
Like he knows like more like better detective work than the actual police. He's like, you should investigate the family, and then he's like, you should question why her body was on the top. Like, and
Yeah.
maybe
Jinte,
these
the
are like,
Dojun's friend, right? Dojun's
yeah,
friend. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was curious about that scene and like why he chooses to have that character. Like it's like a pretty like dramatic scene. It's like I think it's like is it like stormy outside or something?
Yeah, it was raining outside.
It's like
Yeah.
raining outside,
And
and
then
he's like
in the
he's like
house.
speaking very dramatically and telling the mom what to do. But this like the framing of it of him breaking the fourth wall when he tells her at the end of it, I was like, I wonder why he did that.
Mm.
Yeah, he specifically
Because
stares at the camera lens, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was
Oh.
like, like part of me was like, I wonder if like it's gonna come back to him. But I mean, it never does. He basically is like a non-character after that.
Yeah, he just disappears after solving some kind of
Yeah,
evidence.
so like when I saw that, like considering he doesn't come back, I was like, I wasn't really sure why Bong has this shot like that. I mean, breaking the fourth wall is like obviously always a pretty dramatic choice.
Mm.
And I didn't
Intentional,
really,
yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
and I didn't
Maybe
considering he doesn't come back.
he wanted to wanted the viewers to be more involved and follow the mother more, maybe because
I
it
Yeah.
feels like you're with the mother, you
Mhm.
know, all with all
Mhm.
the actions, and he wanted the audience to be more involved in that. And like, what if she does that? What if she does that? That kind of thing. Maybe that's why he used that character to, direct the audience and the mother,
Yeah.
basically.
Maybe, but like you think about like the final shot of Memories of Murder,
Yeah.
like that is like a mass, like him choosing to have
Conversation with the audience.
yeah, like the very final like moment
Yeah.
of that final shot, right? He looks in, breaks the fourth wall, looks at us. Like that was dramatic, right? I think Albert, you were saying that like Bong was saying that he the real murderer would feel the eyes on him, right?
Yeah. That
But
was his
also,
point of, the detective looking at the screen directly. Every
yeah,
scene he's like, "Hey, I'm looking at you." Like
yeah, but
if you're watching.
also the fact that the killer's still out there, so he's looking at us because he's like, where is he among you?
Mm.
Like, because at that time he was still out, like he was still free, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
No. He was in jail, but he didn't know that. Bong Joon didn't know that because he got caught for a
Oh, that guy had
different
actually
murder.
already been
Yeah,
imprisoned.
yeah, he got caught for a
Oh,
different murder,
interesting.
and
But yeah, I
he's
mean,
now
in terms
convicted.
of what we did
Yeah,
know at
what
the
we
time,
did know at that
yeah.
time, we were just like,
But yeah, like if you
ooh,
compare that, like I
chills.
mean, that was such a that's like a there's a lot to take from him breaking the fourth wall there, and I just think that in this one it doesn't.
It's not really. It doesn't feel as
I mean, at least I
impactful.
couldn't derive much out of it.
Mm.
I mean, considering he doesn't come back, because I thought if he came back, then it would be a different story, and something happens,
Mm.
I agree with you. I don't think it had like I think it was just like a mechanism, like Albert said, to draw you in
Yeah.
because
yeah.
like when you're watching up till that point, like I don't think many people would analyze all the hints and put them together. But like he kind of like directly tells the audience all these hints, and then it's like that scene and he's talking about all the hints. It's just like
Yeah.
the audience pay
That's true.
attention because there's something going on and these hints are
Yeah.
important.
Because at that time
Yeah.
you're
And
so
that goes into the
lost.
like dramatic montage.
Yeah, before
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you're very lost because the lawyer is just like not even helping. He's just like, "Hey, just send him to the ward, not the prison. 4 years.
4 years.
Good, right?" And she's just like, "Oh my god, what the fuck? Now what do I do?" I think that was the situation before he showed up in the
Yeah.
house. So maybe
Sure.
he used the character to, hey, there's another way. Keep going, guys. Chop chop.
Yeah.
That kind of mechanism. I think he tried to do that. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not a movie expert, so.
No, I get it. I think I just want more more
Meaning into that shot?
meaning behind that kind of that specific like formal choice.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I it makes sense, and it like it transitions into like her into this montage of her, doing all this detective work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it
What
was
about
just
you,
a push, I
Pat?
think.
Did you
Yeah.
have a like some kind of impression or feeling after seeing that specific scene, or your
You know,
interpretation?
I actually missed that. I actually don't even really remember the fourth wall being broken there.
Mm.
Um, but for me, my impression of the scene otherwise, um, I think the significance of when he closes the door is important, just because when he is about to leave, he's basically just like hustling her for money, right?
Yeah.
And then he closes the door, and it's like it's gonna be like, well, for me, I thought he was just like gonna straight up just like attack her or something, because like at that point, I didn't really know what his character was, because the mother paints him as kind of like this bad guy.
Yeah.
So I thought he was just like gonna intimidate her, but then he like kind of becomes her confidant,
Yeah.
and like he even establishes trust by like telling her that she doesn't even have to trust him, like she should be questioning everybody,
Yeah.
so like he, from that
Yeah.
point, he becomes like kind of reliable,
Mm.
Oh
from
yeah,
like
he
the
does
mother's
come back. Yeah,
perspective.
he fucking does all that shit with the two guys.
Right, so
Yeah.
he's like the most valuable resource that the mother has, in like
Yeah.
solving the case. And then, but like other than those two scenes, because those two scenes are like different, just because that's like the mother's perspective, because the mother's like actually present in those scenes. But otherwise, his presence in the movies, it's just like at the end of the movie, it's just like I'm thinking like this whole like story is just like so fucked up. Like this kid like murders this girl like because he like is like kind of insensitive, and like, and then he doesn't remember that he did it, and then his like mom kills for him, and he has this friend who basically like hustled his mom out of all of her savings because she ended up accusing him of the murder because she was just following the lead of like the golf club.
Yeah.
I think that's why she went over there, because she like suspected that like he had like the blunt object, and then she found the golf club with the lipstick on it. So it's just like so fucked up, because like the last scene that we see him in, he's like picking up the son, from jail, and like he pops out of the car, and like the son is like happy to see him, and then like he sees that like girl that like he like kind of has a crush on, like pop out of the car, and he looks like he's thinking like, oh, like she's there for him, and like little does he know, like his friend has been like sleeping with her like regularly probably.
Mm.
So it's just like a really fucked up like dynamic, and like for me it kind of seems like there's a split between like who he is like in like relevance to like the mother, and like who he is in relevance to the son.
Mm. Huh.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't
To
know,
think
man.
about it, yeah.
I like
No, I,
I
I,
like I yeah,
uh-huh.
I read into it a lot.
No, yeah.
That's good.
I,
That's
I was
good.
also thinking, like you mentioned, the rain, right? And I'm kind of trying to piece together also, like when the rain stopped, because at a certain point it stopped raining. Like, was there a significance to when it stopped, and like, like him closing the door and it's raining outside, and
Mhm.
like maybe I don't know, like he's trying to like relieve her a little bit from the rain and like from that storm she has inside her. I don't know. I was just trying to
Yeah,
add on to your thought.
yeah,
It's
possibly. I
interesting.
mean,
Yeah.
possibly. I mean, the rain significance for me like really was just like it kind of just like was kept to the one scene with the junkyard guy. But
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
um in that scene, like when he closes the door, like it's kind of like, everyone can hear kind of thing. Not like literally everyone can, but like the door signifies like
Mm-hmm.
how he is to the world, like maybe like he's
Mm-hmm.
like hustling her for money, so like he's like the bad guy. But then when he closes the door, it's
Mm-hmm.
a shift in character, and like he becomes like a confidant to her, and then later on he like becomes like her ally, and like interviewing the like two teenage boys that like I don't even really remember. Oh, because they were
Interview. Yeah.
beating up her like the victim's
Friend.
friend or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like the rain like doesn't really pay significance, other than like it's
Mm-hmm.
just like there, and like it like adds to like the like dark gloomy like
Yeah.
kind of feature of that scene when like
The
she's
more
like coming home
dramatic
drunk, and
effect.
like
Yeah.
she
Mm-hmm.
sees him like in her son's room playing games, and like for
Mm-hmm.
me I was like oh, maybe she's like mentally ill and like she's like seeing like a vision, or like maybe not even like mentally ill, but like maybe she's seeing like a vision of her son right there, and then it like turns out to be this guy that like she just accused of the murder, and like shit's probably gonna go down, and like he ends up being quite civilized and just like asks her for money, even though that's like a different kind of like intimidation. But yeah, so like the rain doesn't really pay a significance in my eyes for that scene.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think I do think it was more of a dramatic effect kind of thing. As in like it makes it more dramatic if it's like dark, raining, and like people see it more seriously. You get more focus, you know, those words.
In the mechanism of the story, it was, I think the rain was just there to cover, because like the policemen are like, it rained, so we don't have any like real evidence other than this golf ball. So that's kind of the mechanism. But like symbolism wise, I'm just trying to like maybe interpret something of, because the rain suddenly stopped at a certain point. I was just wondering if you remembered like a scene, it just stopped, or was that the last scene where she's talking to the confidant, I guess. Um, yeah, I was just
I
trying
don't
to make
know.
some kind of
I don't
connection.
know.
I don't know. I'll probably watch it again. Just maybe
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like
some kind of story.
for me, I don't like necessarily like look at the movie for like when it's raining to like create
Yeah.
meaning. I'm basically like looking at the scene and trying to derive meaning by like what's happening. So like when she's like paying the junkyard guy, like there's like significance just because later on, like without later on scenes, that nothing in that scene would make any kind of sense. But like because later on, like she's trying to acquit her son of the murder by like getting this guy to like be for sure the true murderer, but because he's not, he's like he ends up like being the one person who can like um seal like her son's fate by like
Yeah.
adding his like testimony of that night. So the only significance of that scene is like the dollar bills and the rain, because like there isn't much interaction between them. So like for me, I'm just like trying to like symbolically and like figuratively make sense out of it. And like for me, it's just like that whole like the whole movie is about her protecting her son. So it's like her and her son together, you know, just like how like she like tries to kill herself and her son at the same time. Like everything like that they're going through, they're doing it together. And like the junkyard guy like taking that dollar, like that's why I like link meaning to it. It's like he's basically like breaking them apart, you know, like just taking the son and like leaving the mother like unharmed. And like that's the one thing that the mother doesn't want. She wants to protect her son at all costs. So like that's like how I like kind of like think about it. So like I don't really like pay attention to like when the like rain stopped, unless like it kind of lends meaning to the scene that it's in, which I don't recall.
I think I like read into it because when you brought it up, like I know Bong's like super meticulous,
Yeah, he
and like
is.
every scene he kind of like plans out exactly what's gonna happen. So
Yeah.
like I would assume if it's like it's just playing it. Obviously, it might not even be his intention, but just like to kind of see, because like that scene you're talking about, she specifically buys an umbrella and like tries to cover herself up.
Right.
And then there's other scenes with rain where she's like just sogging in rain and like walking around without like any kind of like umbrella or anything. She gets in like the detective's car, like totally drenched.
Yeah, with the raincoat.
Yeah. So I was just trying to like maybe like, because I feel like what Bong does well is he makes his movies and like he puts a lot of like symbolism, but they're like kind of puzzle pieces, but they kind of fit to each other really well. So it's kind of fun to like play this game of like, giving your own interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you mentioned rain, I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. Maybe there's something there.
There's a lot of rain in the movie, though.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
maybe it's just to set the mood. That's simple as
Yeah.
I don't know.
I felt that way at least. Like, although every time she's having a hard time, like there's a rain because like finding the detective, finding out she can't help the, you know, help the kid. When she runs with the golf club, you know, when she's troubled, it always rained, almost always. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think for like the scene where she's like confronted by her son's friend. I think it just like adds effect to
Yeah.
like the whole like her walking through the house and like going into the room because like I think she was like hearing noises. I think that's like why she went in there in the first place. And like I think like in that scene, like just the way that the light like is cast on his body, like it's kind of shadowy and like kind of like yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of like shadowy, I guess. But yeah, I think it's just like for like visual effect more than like figurative in that scene at least.
Yeah. Any other scenes that you guys want to talk about?
I have one if you
What is it?
guys
What is it?
Yeah.
I actually like one of the major scenes that I like was paying attention to is when she's feeding him the soup, you know, while he's waiting for the bus. Like,
Oh, some medicine, the Oriental medicine
yeah,
or whatever.
like
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting because like it pays tribute to like who she is as a person. Like, you know, like when that woman comes and like tells her like she can't be practicing acupuncture illegally, and like she owns like obviously like some kind of like herb shop or something. So like she basically like you can tell she kind of like I don't know, she kind of figures herself to be like some kind of like expert in like these like kind of like you know fields or whatever. And
Yeah.
like even though she's not like, probably not professionally trained at all, so it's just kind of interesting, you know, just like her feeding him the soup. Like obviously like he could probably use some help in like some ways, and I don't know exactly how much of an expert she is to be like offering him this kind of like medicine, you know, herself. And then also just like the significance of like what he's like actually doing, like while she's feeding him, like he like we like see him like peeing like in the beginning of the scene, and then like while he's drinking it, like it shoots to like the puddle that like he's making. So like obviously he's still peeing when it's happening, and it's just like it's a weird like symbology again, like her like kind of like feeding him kind of like he's a baby, you know, kind of like it's just kind of weird. And like he's peeing like while he's doing it, and then like after he leaves on the bus, she like wipes it up with her feet and like covers it with that like metal sign or like whatever. So it's just like it's just kind of weird. It's just like it's a very accurate depiction, I think, of like their relationship. Like she's like happy to cover up his mess, and like I don't know, she just like thinks so great of him. Like even like the dirt under his toenail or whatever, when she like said that to the junkyard man, like
Yeah.
he wasn't
Yeah.
worth the like the dirt and like the edge of his toenail or whatever she said. So yeah, I thought that scene was interesting.
Yeah,
Mm.
like thinking about it now, like what you mentioned, like while she's feeding him the medicine,
Mhm.
I feel like maybe it's like he's pissing it all out. Like it doesn't have
Yeah,
any sense,
it did feel
right?
like that. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because it's like she's trying so hard to like, you know, like protect him and like cover up for him, but like he always gets
Right.
into trouble. It's like no
Right.
effect. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, it's kind of weird though. Like their relationship's kind of twisted, I feel like
Yeah. Definitely.
she's
Yeah.
she's he's peeing in front of her and she's looking at his
Right.
pee pee. Just
Yeah.
looking, and it's just like, oh, he's peeing well. And then, and
Well,
also when he returned from
Yeah.
Manhattan,
Right.
he straight up like grabs her boob, lying
Yeah.
next to her. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
yeah.
I mean, the part of him, in his defense, he's like a fucking
Yeah.
7-year-old
Basically.
kid.
Yeah.
You know, like his mind is like a kid. You know, but it's kind of a Oedipusy, you know.
Mm.
I don't know if that's a word. Like kind of like a Oedipus syndrome kind of
Complex.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
Oedipusy.
I gotta use that. Gotta use that.
Yeah. It's yeah, it felt weird. Their relationship was definitely weird.
Yeah, I mean they kind of like that entire scene where they kind of mentioned the like she was trying to kill both of them. Like
Yeah.
it made it kind of more believable about like her like mental state. Like she's gone through so much. At a certain point, she wanted to kill both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like obviously it's not this like completely mentally, I guess, healthy kind of family, I guess. And
Yeah.
that's
Right.
yeah. So I thought that made it more believable, like her acting like what we would consider crazy at certain times. That's why I was thinking like if someone's been through this much, uh, maybe it's like it seems like almost a realistic response that someone like that would have. And she acted it so well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
She did. She did. Oh man, a lot of like good scenes. What about you,
Yeah.
Brandon? Do you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else, but I do have to head out. I haven't eaten dinner. I'm so hungry, guys. My gosh.
Oh
All
my
right,
God.
all right. Yeah. I mean, we did it for a long time, hour 40. I think. Yeah, it was pretty good.
No, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Mother was pretty good, as in a thriller sense, and also if you read into these mother's emotion, it was a great movie.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
it
showed
was
us
really good.
that mother is also a person, and mother's love is not always pure. It's just
Mhm.
it has different sides. Everything has different. If you flip a coin, you see another side of a coin. That kind of thing.
You fucking love your duality. Like,
Yeah, I
That
mean,
every
I
movie.
I do think it's a theme.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to break that
Yeah.
stereotype of
Mhm.
motherly love and how
Yeah.
it could be
Or his
different.
like questioning power and authority. It's
Yeah,
kind of a common theme as well.
yeah.